Welcome to another episode of What's the Point podcast, a unique show about men and their mental health. There are no doctors, no professionals, just real men talking about real stuff. And now, the What's the Point podcast, where you are the point.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand spanking new edition of What's the Point podcast. I'm coming to you live from the Tom Bernard podcast studio. Well, actually, I'm not there. I'm actually in the What's the Point podcast studio, while the rest of the crowd is at the Tom Bernard podcast studio. We are doing a 2 different location show today, which is good. We're liking it. We get along better when we're not always together. I am Bill Deckus. I am your co-host, and as you can tell from the screens here, we have Mr. Mark Wick with us as well.
Good to see you there. Looking good, man. That from the last podcast we did till today. Man, that is looking sharp.
Yeah, it's filled in a little bit. It's been dyed a little bit. It's ready to come off.
I was sitting next to you on the couch last time and I couldn't see it. Now I can see it all the way to the What's the Point podcast studio.
Exactly. No, it's about ready to come off, I think. This isn't me.
Well, you dyed it and now you're going to shave it?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
I think it is you.
Yeah, the gray's starting to come back. I didn't realize I had gray hair at all. So
hard to see your back in the mirror, isn't it?
And it was kind of a shot into my ego that I have gray hair now. So
my beard is like half gray, and I'm 38. So
yeah, that doesn't bode well for you. We also have Mr. Mark Meyer in studio with us.
Super glad to be here. Couldn't wait to drive all the way across town while you sat in our office. Oh. I might be a little bitter
Good
today.
thing you're not bitter.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Well, Wick started yelling at me at the base of the driveway. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Such a supportive, caring team we have assembled.
No, that's not true.
Tom will vouch for me.
No, it's all true. It was before we got to the base. I didn't wait that long.
He called you on the way there to complain.
Thank God I got thick exterior.
Speaking of the Tom Bernard podcast, we have Mr. Andy Bernard with us today.
Hello. 3 weeks later, I'm finally almost not sick anymore.
Hey.
It's nice.
Not sick anymore, but As you told us previously, it's running through your house now a little bit.
Yep, wife just got sick about 3 days ago, so here comes the next set of 3 weeks.
Would it be wrong to stay in a hotel?
I know, really.
I don't know. Something that popped into my head. We are. It's great to be back with all you guys again and recording. I missed the last one for something, but I'm glad to be back and hanging out with you guys. And we've talked about this in the past. Is I really enjoy just doing these. I love the banter. I love the discussions with our guests, and these are just really, really fun things to do for us. So it's great to be back with all of you guys. We are excited. We've got a special guest with us today. Our friend Tom is going to be here today. He's going to talk about his mental health challenges, his journey, some of the struggles that he's had in life, and give us some update on what he's doing now, what he's doing to make life better for himself and his family, and you'll hear all about that. And we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back, and we'll hear more from Tom.
At Brand Inc., we know your business's reputation rides on every detail, especially when it's on the road. Our commercial vehicle wraps combine eye-catching design, 3M-backed installation, and a seamless process built for busy teams. Whether it's one truck or an entire fleet, we help you turn heads, build trust, and grow your business. Your vehicles are always moving. Make sure your brand moves with them. Start your project at brandinc.com. That's Inc with a K, brandinc.com.
You're listening to the What's the Point podcast, where you are the point. And now your hosts, Mark Meyer, Bill Deckus, and Mark Wick.
Well, I guess this is my segment to bring us back in, but didn't you forget a question or something? Don't we have something going on, Bill? Don't you have a question for us?
I call it.
What's your guys' favorite color?
Oh, I got a question. Can I have a question?
Yeah, Mark, you have a question.
What do you think the average cost is when you take your car into a mechanic?
In this room or nationally?
Either one, your pick.
All right, I'm gonna go $650.
Okay. Is Is this a mental health episode? I thought we were doing like the click and clack episode here. I thought this was about like car talk.
Well, then I should leave.
Card talk.
Yeah. Well, we'll catch up on the car talk at the end. I guess it's time to focus now. So, well, as Bill mentioned, we have Tom Archambault in studio with us today, and so grateful for you coming.
Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
This is, it's so deeply personal to come in and share your story and talk about things that the vast majority of the population would never be willing to share. And again, just, kudos to you for doing this. And Tom, I've known you for quite a while, and I'm just kind of curious about your mental health journey, what it's looked like for you, a little bit about you. Just share with the world who Tom is.
Sure. So, Tom Archambault, I'm 42 years old. I live in Shoreview with my wife Annie and our 3 daughters who are 12, 10, and 7. Annie and I just celebrated our 18-year anniversary on Monday, the day of the Face It Alive at the Links golf event, and we've been together for 25 years, so she's seen me through it all. When you ask about my mental health journey, boy, that's interesting, because I would tell you it maybe only started 3 years ago. But we know that's not true. There was a big event that happened about 3 years ago that led me to eventually join a Face It group, and been going ever since, and really enjoying it and getting the benefits out of it.
Well, yeah, Tom is his shops that he owns. You can talk more about that if you'd like. Are in my neighborhood, and so I've been going to Tom for years, and we talked about Face It on and off for how many years prior to you?
Many years, over many lunches. We sat down, and it was always a gentle approach. I was a firm believer in the Face It message and what they were doing for other guys, but never felt like I was that guy that needed it. And it was usually with some tears welling up in my eyes at a lunch that you would say, maybe you should come check out a group sometime. And I went, yeah, whatever, not for me. I don't have any issues. Yeah. So I'm really thankful that you kept with it and that you're part of my life, so I knew about it.
Well, I think and Mark and Bill, you guys can speak to this. It takes guys. I have a guy who joined one of my groups. He's probably been with us 2 years. 7 years in the making. He had learned about Face It, and he said, I kept following you guys, and I would read stuff, and I kept thinking, I should call him, and then another year would pass. So, but well, share with us whatever feels relevant to you about what you've experienced, what you went through. You alluded to a big event, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Sure. So I grew up in a household where drinking was a normal thing. It was part of our family culture. Every day there were celebrations or just sitting down for a cocktail as part of your evening, things like that. So it was part of my life when I got to that age, upper teens, early 20s drinking age, living at my parents' house through college. They would sit down and have their nightly cocktail, and I'd join them. And that just became a habit for me over my life. And I worked a late shift, as Mark kind of alluded to. I'm in the automotive repair industry. I've worked in that industry my whole life. I worked at a shop that was in the same neighborhood where I grew up, so I was very connected to the neighborhood. And life just kind of had this groove that I fell into. And go to work, come home, it was late at night. So the first logical thing to do would be sit down and pour a drink, kind of relax. That was all fine and well until kind of the work life switched and shifted. I was able to create a business where I wasn't needed in the day-to-day, the grind of it all, so I had a little bit more free time. So though my scheduling changed and things like that, my habits didn't. So it was still the going home, regardless of the time, pouring that first cocktail, and just letting them flow until the night was over. And I was able to keep my life going very well. My businesses were profitable. They were operating with me doing very minimal amounts of day-to-day work and things like that. I knew that I'd gained a lot of weight. I was up over 200 pounds. I was about 205 pounds. And I always wanted to get healthy and get fit. And having conversations with my wife, Annie, about that. And she would ask the question, well, do you think drinking has anything to do with that? And it's like, no, it's not. It's never that.
There's no calories in alcohol.
There was no calories in alcohol or anything like that. So it was something that was on my mind all the time, but I didn't know where to take some action. And ultimately, the body was keeping score for me. So there was a night in July of 2022 where I'm driving around preparing for a vacation the next day, and I felt like I was having a heart attack. And it was one of the scariest things I've ever felt in my life. And so ended up contacting my wife. She took me to the clinic, ended up going in an ambulance to the hospital.
Wow.
So it was pretty traumatic. And the whole time, everybody's going, well, we know your blood pressure is high. We know that, your heart is working, doing what it's supposed to, but we don't know what's going on until they get some labs back. And liver enzymes are through the roof. And Annie and I are sitting in the room, and the doc goes, when's the last time you had a drink? And I said, yesterday. And he goes, that's your problem. You're suffering from alcohol withdrawal. And that was a slap in the face.
Wow, that's a big wake-up call.
It was one that I needed there. Annie was right there with me and heard everything. The hardest part was that in her family, we've dealt with a sibling who's an alcoholic. And I knew that. I was part of the intervention when that happened years before this. And I've seen it in my family, extended family, and things like that, but I never thought it was me. And all of a sudden, here I'm faced with it's you, and you have a decision to make. So Annie and I spent the next day talking things over, figuring out where the path forward would be. Met with my doctor, who I'd been avoiding seeing because I wanted to lose weight and stop drinking so much. Met with my doctor, and I was honest, and he was very honest with me. And we set a plan forward, which included some medication for blood pressure, obviously avoiding the drinking, the alcohol. And he had talked to me about a program to go to, whether that be AA or something like that. Well, I knew a Face-It for a long time. And I didn't see myself going through a 12-step program because I'm the type of stubborn individual that would just say, I can do this on my own.
Right.
I could do the drinking thing, the quitting drinking on my own, but I needed to figure out what was going on. How did it get to that point? And I've sat down with you and Bill, had my first introductory meeting, a lot of tears, just kind of laying it out there. And one thing that always stuck out to me is just how approachable you two were in that meeting. And it was lighthearted, though we talked about heavy things. It was lighthearted, like the moment when I said, well, Mark, where would I even find an AA meeting? He's like, I don't know. Have you ever heard of the internet? It's so it was good to know that these guys take the serious matters seriously, but they don't take themselves too seriously, and they're here to support other guys. Starting August of 2022, I joined my group. It was a Wednesday night group that Bill was the facilitator for the 2 years while I was there, but he was there many years longer than that. And since joining, I have found extreme benefit in being there 2 Wednesdays a month, meeting with the guys. There's days that I have a lot to bring, and there's days that the only thing I have to bring is my listening ears, just to be there for the other guys.
Hey, Tom, real quick, to go back to the drinking thing. We have a lot of guys that face it that drink or do drugs just to try to cope, just to try to make it through the day, just to try to numb themselves a little bit from all that stuff in life. Was that you, or is there or was it just normal family practice that you talked about?
I think it was both, and I've really spent some time thinking about that. It started as just a habit. Part of the family culture, part of the celebration. It was even celebrated in and of itself, the amount that we drank and how funny that was, that we could still function and still party the way that we did. But really, it got to the point then that my body became reliant on it in a certain way, but then I was using it anytime I needed to deal with emotions, whether they were good emotions or sad emotions or any emotions. And so, it's a little bit of everything. I would have told you at the time when we first met that it was just part of the family thing. That's all it was. And that physically my body needed it because it became accustomed to it. But really, as I look back and why I was doing those things and where some of my relationships were, I was using it as a means to cope, for sure. That was a big one.
And one of the things that you said, when you started out here, you made the comment, I would say this started 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's when the incident was.
Right.
But so often, the incident is the one that makes us realize it.
Yep.
But then as we look back, it's been going on for years and years. Mine was 10 years ago. but it's really been going on for 30 years, 40 years, you know, that thing. And then the other thing about, you know, you did the intervention for your brother-in-law.
Sister-in-law.
Or sister-in-law.
Yeah.
But why not you? Well,
Yeah.
it's tough to see the picture when you're in the picture frame.
Yeah.
So she needs help. I'm fine. You know, and until we sometimes get hit with that,
Right.
it doesn't sink in.
It really doesn't.
What are some of the emotions that you think you were trying to avoid? What was some of that stuff that you think, you know, like you said, the drinking is, oh, it's just a habit, it's what we do and we celebrate it, and that's a messed up culture in and of itself,
it
right?
is.
You know, not your family, I mean, but
No.
that's a lot of people's story, and it's such a ceiling, because then you can never really grow beyond that, because if that's what the nature of your life is, how do you make your relationships deeper? So what, you know, you mentioned, in retrospect, I was covering feelings, or, you know, what were those? What were those things?
A lot of stress.
Okay.
You know, stress of owning a business, having a young family, because in that time where my drinking got the heaviest, we were in the throes of toddlers and, you know, early to school age kids and things like that. So, excuse me, a lot of stress in life. Also not knowing how to talk to my wife about certain things. And as opposed to talking about it, I would sit by myself, and I didn't like sitting by myself sober. I also didn't know how. That was never part of my life. But I didn't like that. And so it was a lot easier to just calm the nerves, calm the feeling, get in a relaxed mood. So I use it a lot to just, whatever speed I was going at, which was usually up here, it could bring me down right down here really fast. And was good enough at kind of maintaining just that sort of level of calmness with the alcohol, so like a buzz state and things like that, but still being functional, able to do my work at the house, you know, take care of, or at least that's how I thought about it at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't spend a lot of time looking back and saying, what was my behavior really like? Because as we've worked on, you know, in group and things like that, we've all done things in the past.
Right.
We can't change any of that, but we can work on, you know, analyzing that behavior and see how that can make us choose a different path forward, I think.
As your business needed you less during the day-to-day, you know, operation, did you drink out of boredom? Did you drink out of loneliness? Did you, I mean, what do you think was going on then that you were trying to figure out, do they need me? Or tell us a little bit about that.
That's a little bit tougher because I haven't spent much time thinking about that, but I had a sense of just like, there was ego there. That was, if I really think about it, it was ego. It was like, I'm successful, I'm not needed here right now, I can go do whatever I want. And I didn't have a lot of things that I wanted to do. In fact, there was a lot of things I didn't want to do, and looking back, I was anxious or fearful of doing those things because of the drinking. Like, well, how could I go do that if they don't have alcohol there? Or, you know, how can you do that when you're expected to be like completely focused and sober? Like, because there was a good time when I probably wasn't ever without alcohol in my system.
So that, you know, we talk about ego and the need to be needed, and I also hear fear. You drank out of fear. You were afraid of not being needed. How do I manage? How do I, you know, there's a lot of fear. So, I don't know, any other thoughts, Mark?
Well, and one of the things you talked about running this business, having this young family. One of the things we talked about before we went on air here is your field in and of itself is at high risk for this type of stuff. Right? To have mental health challenges because of the culture in it, just because of the things that you do, because of the hours and all those types of things. And you throw that on in there, you're kind of in the perfect storm where this stuff just all goes together, and it probably feels, well, this is the norm.
Yeah, very much so. Growing up, because this is my only job that I've ever had. I started at 14. Not to say that anybody within the business showed me this path, but it's in the industry. I mean, you see it out there that people have mental health issues. They have high levels of stress. It's a field that's predominantly male, you know, and so communication, interpersonal communication is tough. And guys, we don't want to go and
Right.
Oh, you
maybe
didn't
have that conversation with them. We'd rather just stuff it down and find another way to deal with it later, which is usually not the
So
healthiest
you
way.
guys didn't have a meeting room where you'd have daily
Check-ins
emotion
with-
sessions?
Yeah, no.
Weird,
Yeah, I know.
you know? But yeah, I mean, all those things combined, that's, okay. It, probably what you were doing didn't nobody else looked at that and said, oh, geez. Like, did anybody else come up to you and say, geez, Tom, you might have a problem?
Yeah, other than the physical weight that I gained, people
Right.
probably didn't look at me any different. It was very accepted.
Yep. Throwing.
Yeah, that normalization of everything, where it's just what you know, and you grew up in a family system. All these family systems teach us lessons, and you grew up in a system that taught you drinking is just what we do. It's not. It's just that's what you were taught, and then it becomes our only tool is a hammer. So now
Right.
everything's a nail, right?
Exactly.
So, any thoughts, Bill, before we go to break? Anything you'd like to ask Tom?
You know what? I don't know if about asking, but I mean, it was really interesting because I think about the culture as well, the culture there, and we can, when we come back, we can hear more about it. But I want to know if your progress on your mental health journey, how that has worked into working at your job and with your employees and the relationships there. I'll be interested to hear if that changed at all.
Yeah, that when you gain this level of awareness, and I would argue 3 years in this journey. How old are you?
42.
42. So, we'll say there was 39 years prior to you stopping drinking. And you're 3 years out, you'll discover so many more things about who you are, that's just the way this works, because you've been riding one kind of bicycle for a really long time, and now you're learning to ride a whole different bicycle. And I think I think it's so exciting because the opportunities are almost limitless once we begin to kind of let ourselves be open to the world in its raw state, rather than being, using alcohol or drugs or gambling or porn or affairs or any number of things we've heard guys or have done ourselves to avoid pain. So thank you for sharing all that. I really appreciate it, and we'll be back in just a second.
Founded in 2006 by Josh Egner, JT Egner Construction is a trusted commercial construction company built on a passion for serving clients and building lasting partnerships. Every project is approached from the client's perspective, listening to their needs, understanding their vision, and delivering tailored solutions that align with their unique goals. JT Egner specializes in helping both for-profit and nonprofit organizations build, manage, and improve their facilities. Their expertise spans sectors like industrial sites, medical facilities, corporate headquarters, worship spaces and childcare centers, senior living communities, retail spaces, and restaurants. Whether it's ground-up construction, renovations and additions, or ongoing facility management, their mission is to partner with leadership teams to create functional and efficient spaces. Josh shares, "What drives me is the joy of serving others, working as part of a team, and solving challenges. We truly love our work. We know construction can be stressful, so we value the opportunity to guide you every step of the way from the initial conception to the final completion." So for all your commercial construction needs, reach out to Josh and the team at JT Egner Construction at 952-985-0582 or online at jtegner.com.
You're listening to the What's the Point podcast, where you are the point. And now your hosts, Mark Meyer, Bill Deckus, and Mark Wick.
Welcome back to another segment of What's the Point podcast. Tom, man, I have so many questions, and I've already learned so much about you that, I haven't known you that long. And, really amazing. One of the things that I always like to talk to our guests about, and and I always bring this up to every new person that we have in groups, right? So you meet with Mark, you meet with Bill, they say you're going to be in this group.
Yeah.
Geez, where did you start? Well, what was that, over in Fridley?
No, I started at the Arden Hills location, so the current location.
That's the current location.
Yeah, current shop. Yeah.
Have we been there that long? Or you guys have been there that long?
Our 5-year lease is coming due this spring.
Holy cow! Where does the time go?
Crazy.
That's crazy.
You were a lot younger back then, Wick.
Probably about 5 years younger. Yeah. Still wasn't 42. Anyways, okay, so that first night group,
Yeah.
how did it feel walking in that building?
I was scared out of my mind to walk in that building. I was sweating.
Good for you.
Also because I was fat, but sweating, nervous. But I walked in that room and Bill introduced everybody and let them introduce themselves. And we spent the next hour and 45 minutes hearing all of their stories, what brought them to face it. And I felt, though, that I was among brothers in a certain sense. Other people that had all sorts of issues that were not unlike mine.
Yep.
It was really cool. So I walked out of there like a little bit of weight had been lifted off my back.
Did you share much that first night?
I did. I shared my whole story, barely croaked it out through the wobbly voice and the tears and everything like that. But yeah, it was important to get it out for me.
What was it like driving home after you had made yourself so vulnerable to essentially a room full of strangers?
I liken it to the feeling of going to confession in the Catholic Church. So raised Catholic, and you had to go to mandatory confessions and things like that. But when you always walked out of that confessional or down the steps of the church, it was like, man, the slate has kind of been wiped clean.
Nice.
That's a sense of what I got on the way home, of just like, that's off my chest now.
Yeah, cool.
I do have to ask, how often do you guys ask how you felt going into your first meeting, and the person's like, yeah, it was no big deal?
Well, we
Super
assume they're
easy.
lying.
Yeah.
And we usually call them out.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Andy, so many guys, when we first meet with them, we talk about that first meeting, and we try to prep them that you'll feel anxious, you'll be nervous, you won't know how to do this. Because again, I think, the question I ask so many guys is, when is the last time you sat in a room full of 10 men and shared your problems? And the answer is, never.
Right.
Especially strangers.
Right.
That first time.
Right. And so it's, every guy. And then the response each guy has at the first meeting is always kind of interesting. There's the guy that says very little. There's the guy that says a ton. And I think much to what you just said, Tom, I think this is the whole point of what guys need to get through their skulls is talking about your problems helps. Mm-hmm. It's not really particularly complicated. Difficult, but
sure.
talking about your problems helps.
Difficult.
One thing Mark and I had just talked about recently is you meet with us, and then you get put into a group. You come to group. You go through the first night like you experienced, Tom. And I think a big challenge is those next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Is all the thoughts that go through your head. Do you come back? Do we come back? Because we have some that don't. That's all they do. But there are some that come back. And I was wondering if, Tom, if you can think back that far. I know it's quite a ways back, but what it was those 2 weeks like before group happened again?
It was
anxious? Sure, maybe I should. I loved it. I want to go back.
Yeah, I was anxious. I didn't know that I wanted to go back. I was a little apprehensive about it because I wasn't sure what a regular group meeting looked like. I was told that, this meeting was not something we do every week where everybody shares their whole story and things like that. So I was a little nervous about what an actual group looks like on a random Wednesday night. The 2 week period in between, and this is going to be a shameless plug for this podcast, but I would go on walks daily and I listened to the What's the Point podcast.
Nice.
It was just, I heard your story, Wick. I heard Bill give his story, and a number of other people out there, and it was a reminder. These guys are going through similar things. They're here, and they're making it through.
And I think I would go off Mark's point. When was the last time you got in a room and it's really tough to talk about how we feel? But I would guess I would ask everybody. I can just speak for myself. But now, it's not tough with my group.
Right.
Because now it's normal, right? But once we do it, it's that fear of how am I going to be judged? How am I going to be accepted? Just like, asking for help, that's a sign of weakness.
Right.
That took a lot of courage for you to walk in that door, because these guys can attest. There's a lot of guys that come to that first meeting that don't come back.
Right.
There's some guys that probably show up on the night of their meeting and sit in the parking lot and don't come in.
Yeah.
Like, to do that takes courage. And I think, though, once this kind of becomes more the norm, where we know we can go in and talk to this group of guys, doesn't mean it would be easier to talk to other strangers about it. But with these 10 guys or however many are in your group, hopefully now it feels more comfortable, and there's not too many things you don't think you can share with them.
Yeah, that's key. I mean, 10 guys that I've only known for 3 years, they know my entire life story, as opposed to some people that have known me my whole life that have scratched the surface.
Yep.
I mean, the bonds we have built, they were already there amongst the group, because I got put into an established group. That was something also that was scary. Yeah. But man, I haven't seen one guy at Face It that wouldn't with open arms welcome you into that group and just sit there and listen.
And as those bonds, you think about the value of the bonds with the 10 men inside that group. That's incredible. But at the same time, have the lessons you've learned about building relationships, communicating, sharing, transcended the Face It office and bled into other parts of your life with other relationships?
100%.
How so?
Well, a great example of that is my marriage. I mean, we've had some serious conversations and in-depth discussions about where we've been, where we're going, where we are right now, where we would like to go in the future. In the marriage itself, you know, the way in which we have disagreements has changed. It used to be me taking any disagreement and twisting it so that by the end, my wife was apologizing to me. I got very good at that. I was really good at that too.
Now
we work to understand each other, and it's tricky because there's still all that scar tissue, so to speak, of the way that I used to act. And so we then have to have those conversations. I understand why you're feeling this way because this is how I used to act, but here's my honest intention right now. On the work front, it's been amazing. I don't wake up with hangovers anymore, which is awesome. So regardless of what time I wake up or have to get into work, I don't have a pounding headache. I'm able to look at everybody within that group and just have an honest conversation with them regardless of what it is. And then, you know, with my kids, I'm present, you know. I'm thankful that I was able to recognize it and catch it while they're still young.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Isn't life easier when we can go through it with a clean conscience?
Yeah.
And know we make mistakes and we struggle because we're human. However, you know, your perception of being a functional alcoholic, you know, my perception of being, you know, oh, this depression, anxiety is not really impacting me. It's fucking load of shit, man. Everybody else around us is paying a price while we think it's not a problem.
Yep. No, there was a price paid by everybody in my life around me, and whether they know it or not, I can look back and I know what it was because I wasn't my true, authentic self, trying to be the best version of me every given day.
Yeah.
I thought I was trying to do that, but I wasn't.
Well, and you're growing. I mean, thank God, right?
Yeah.
Yep. You know, it's too bad, and I know Mark and Bill, you guys do a lot of talks. I do a lot of talks to get that word out there. So this is going to sound really bad, but I say a lot of those things. You know, I'm glad you had that incident when you were 39.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to when you were 49 or 59.
Right.
Yeah.
Because maybe you want to change. I wish I would have realized at 29 or 39 that I had this stuff going on and asked for the help and done something about it then. But the way that this is set up is, you know, we wait till crisis happens before we get the help. So the hope is when people listen to this stuff, when they hear talks, that we're more proactive in this whole thing because, you know, fortunate thing for you is you've got all these years with your family and all these memories to make now that are made in such a positive way that wouldn't have happened maybe if this incident doesn't happen 3 years ago.
You know, Tom, obviously I know a bunch of your stories, and I won't share them all on here.
Oh, that's nice of you.
Wow.
I know. I could do some stuff. I mean, I'm not even there. It's a good time for me to drop these, but I'm going to wait. But one stuck out to me in particular. I want you to comment on this. You know, for years, you're a I guess we'd call you kind of a motorhead, obviously, mechanic and all that kind of stuff. You and your buddies like to go to Brainerd International Raceway for a weekend of just debauchery, just cars and fumes and as much alcohol as you could possibly get.
Absolutely.
After your episode 3 years ago, you shared with me about how you went back up there again, and it was way different. Do you remember that?
I remember going up there again and the way that it felt. Was there something in particular that you're questioning? But I could speak on it.
I know it was a challenge being around people who, were not drinking and stuff. But if I remember right, you told me you even came home early.
I did. Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
I wanted to be with my family.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
Amen.
I didn't have a hangover. I wasn't trying to get a couple more drinks in before we left for the day or anything like that. I wanted to be with my family.
Yep.
Yeah. And still going every year, so it's fun.
It's awesome. It's amazing how life can change when we're, again, like Mark, you said, more aware and more in tune to what's going on, and your priorities change, right? I mean, priorities were going up and just having a balls to the walls weekend with the buddies and everything else, and now it's Sunday morning. You know what, guys? I'm going to take off early because I'm going to take my kids. We're going to go to the park.
Yeah.
What a difference! What a different turn your life has taken.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously, you quit drinking.
Yes.
You done some other things, or was that just the weight? Because I don't know, you don't look 200 pounds now. Was it just because of the alcohol, or have you been more active or done other things, or what do you do to help maintain your mental health?
To maintain my mental health, I mean, Face It is a big part of it, but also just the things that I surround myself with, the things I view online. It's a lot more inspirational now than maybe some of the time-wasting things that I did before. I'm not a big reader, so I'm not into books, but I do a lot of listening to podcasts and different books on audio and things like that. When it comes to physical health, I mean, it was the drinking was the key. I mean, that's a lot of empty calories that we pulled out right away.
Yep.
But with that comes the snacking, the not eating well, a balanced diet. So yeah, ultimately, physically, I was able to do that with, taking the drinking out and then diet and just a moderate level of exercise. I'm not in the gym every day. I wish I could tell you I was. I'm not as buff as Billy D over there.
None of us are.
No, and nor will we be, but yeah.
And that's a great point. I think one of the things that I hear so much is, exercise is important and all that. But I think it's movement. And I'm guessing with 3 kids, you do a lot of moving.
We're moving all the time. Yeah, three kids and a couple of businesses, and just trying to always stay moving. That's a big part of it for me. Is just in the automotive repair industry. It's a business where you don't sit down a lot. I enjoy that, and so just my day to day is pretty active.
Yep. I'm also we won't get on it, but with the less alcohol, I'm also guessing, because this is kind of a thing that I have. A niche for it is sleep is better.
It is.
And
that
sleep
was the
is a
biggest
huge part
thing.
in our mental health.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, thank you for all that. We will take a quick break and we will be right back.
Launched in 2009, Face It is a Minneapolis-based nonprofit organization focused on working with men who deal with depression. Using a peer support model that leverages men's groups, mentoring, social activities like retreats, baseball games, and fishing trips, we provide more than 12,000 hours of free services to hundreds of men each year. And yes, I said free. We never charge for any of our peer support programs, and we will never ask you for a copy of your insurance card. If you're tired of feeling alone in your fight against depression, please visit us at faceitfoundation.org or drop Mark or Bill an email at info@faceitfoundation.org.
You're listening to the What's the Point podcast, where you are the point. And now your hosts, Mark Meyer, Bill Deckus, and Mark Wick.
What to do, right?
Welcome. Hey, pay attention. We're back.
Sorry.
Welcome back, everyone, to the final segment of What's the Point podcast, featuring our wonderful friend Tom Archambault. Tom, again, thank you so much for being here, for participating, being open and honest, and just being a part of this podcast, being part of the Face It family. You've meant so much to us. With that said, Tom, I was thinking about this, is that just think if someone's driving down the road and they just happen to hear this podcast. Maybe they're not sure what's going on in their lives. Maybe they're drinking a little too much. Maybe not. Maybe they're, just not sure what's going on, but something's not right. What would you tell them? What kind of advice would you give them today?
It's going to sound cliche, but I'm going to tell them that they should just check out Face It. Go to the website, go to some of the social media, get a feel for what it is, and then maybe even call and have a conversation. We were talking in the break here. I've been a supporter of Face It for many, many years. I believe in the message. I believed in the message long before I thought I needed the message, and it works. So that wouldn't be a way to get them in, but it's just to say, ask a question. It never hurts to get some more information. If you don't know where to go in life, or you have things on your mind and you don't know who to talk to, Face It's the place.
I want to hit on one thing real quick before we move to our next part here. But what people don't know is that you've been to Face It for 3 years, and the last year or so, you've actually led that group. You've actually become one of the lead facilitators. How's that been different for you?
I co-facilitate our group with my partner Josh, who's been in that Wednesday night group a few years longer than I have. When it came up, I was apprehensive at first. Just knowing all the things that I take away from Face It and the things that I bring to the table each week, I wasn't sure that stepping into a leadership role was the best thing, or just not even leadership, but that role per se.
That's a big
because
leadership role.
Then I didn't feel like I'm just one of the guys. Yeah. But I think working with Josh and talking with Mark and Bill about how can we do this so that both Josh and I have times that we feel like we're still one of the guys in the group and we can just bring our concerns there, or our ups there as well, has really worked out. So it's been a few months, 6-7 months now, I think, that we've been running that group, and it's a lot of fun.
Good. That's awesome. We haven't had too many complaints from the guys in the group, a few since I left, but not many, so you're doing pretty well.
Well, I'm the head of the complaint department now. You no longer are, so...
That's awesome. On a personal side, Tom, you are such a caring person. I don't think I've met anyone more caring than you. Firsthand how you reach out to me at times just to check in or share something, and it just means the world to me when I see your name pop up on my phone. It lifts my spirits right away. You are such a huge addition to Face It, and to your group, and to other ways you're involved in Face It, and to me, and I know with Mark Meyer's life too. You've been a true blessing to have as our paths have crossed. So I'm thankful for that. But what we always do at the end, I want to hear from you guys about a couple of things maybe you guys learned today while we listen to Tom tell his story about his mental health journey. How about you, Mr. Meyer? Do you have a couple things that you've learned today?
I've learned a number of things. I've learned that Mark Wick actually pays for his car repairs. I appeared in a Boulevard commercial one time, so I have like this free account. I didn't know if you knew that, Wick.
I do now. That's something I learned too.
It's just a little thing I did learn today. You know what I learned is that when somebody is committed to change, regardless of what has happened, regardless of the hole they have to dig out of, because Tom, you said this on a break, you knew you wanted to change, you didn't know how to change, and once you got the opportunity, and not that Face It was your only opportunity, you've done many things in the process, but once you're committed to change, no matter how many times you stumble, you're always moving forward. And I just think about that with so many of our guys that come in. I think about my own journey, that it was all supposed to just fall into place and it was all going to work out. Well, you didn't lose weight overnight. You didn't, come out of having essentially, withdrawing from alcohol it took time. Yeah. And even now, like I said earlier in this segment, you're 3 years into, I always say, I went into the hospital when I was 35 years old. When I got out of the hospital, I was reborn. And I had a whole new chance. And now here I am 24 years later. So I'm still younger in this version of my life than when I went into the hospital. But the things I've learned in the last 24 years, the way my eyes have opened, the things I've discovered, it's unbelievable. And I just am so excited. And Bill said this, I have considered you one of my best friends for so long. And you bring so much to the table. So that's what you've helped me see today.
Awesome. What about you, Andy? Anything stick out with you today?
I'd say I've learned that it's possible to have 3 children and a business, despite there only being 24 hours in one day. I've got 2 kids, and my business is the podcast, and I am scrounging for hours to clean the house and that sort of thing. So, good job, I guess, is all I can say there.
Thanks, Andy.
You're my inspiration as of today.
All right.
Honey, we need to have another kid.
Yeah, that'll balance it all out. Yeah. Maybe it's, just...
When in doubt, have a kid.
Yeah, I heard a guy today that we can have another kid. Mr. Wick, what have you learned today?
In this, what did I learn today is always tough because, I think it's like a lot of things. We realize these things, but they're really impacted when we hear the stories, right? And so often we focus on the person sitting in the couch, and how does that affect them? How has that changed your life? And I didn't know your story, so I learned a ton just about you, and those things, which I would have never guessed. I've only known you really for the last few years. I've known of Boulevard and everything, but just seeing you and everything. So I'm like, that guy? I never knew who that guy was, and that was only 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes we forget the effect it has on everybody else. And the way I listen to you talk about your wife and your kids is also why this is also important. The things that you're going to have now for them and those memories that you're going to build with them. That's a part that I think is such a great reminder for us that it's about us, but it's about all these other people that we love too. And such a great message from that standpoint too. And how, it sounds like your wife was very supportive in this. Mm-hmm. And I think that the three of us, we can say that our wives have been rocks, for us as we battle through this. Right. And that's very important. So just where all that stuff has been.
It is, I got to say this real quick, it's obvious what I'm about to say. However, 4 years ago you were a good boss, but were you able to meet with your employees when they struggled? You were a good husband, but you weren't where you wanted to be as a husband. You were a present father, not as present as you wanted to be. The message to every guy listening to this podcast is there is such a better version of ourselves just waiting to be unearthed. And that in and of itself to me is what makes all of this so worth it. How about you, Bill? What'd you learn today?
Well, my Mounds View math tells me that you and your lovely bride met when you were about 17.
That is true. Yeah.
Wow.
We actually met when I was 16, if you'll believe that. And then a couple months later turned 17.
So, which, you don't see that a whole lot anymore these days. That's a great run. And from the way you talk today, it's only getting better.
It is. Because
of your communication and your sobriety and all the other stuff. One thing about you, and I unfortunately, I know all this, so this is just kind of a repeat kind of thing. But you're very driven. You're very, you push yourself to be the best version of you that you can be. And sometimes that can come off as competitiveness and all kinds of stuff like that, but it's not. You take that drive and you put it to the best possible use. You and I we've talked numerous times about our weight and weight loss and our physical health and all that kind of stuff too. And you recently shared that you wanted to hit a goal, and you certainly just hit it recently. The picture of you naked on the scale was a bit much. But, we have a special relationship with that. I'll send you one, too. So
I'd appreciate that.
You take your drive and your competitiveness and you use it for the good. And I can see that in your employees at work. You expect a lot out of them, but your employees are the most respectful, caring people that I come across. No matter what I'm there for, they're always so helpful. And I'm sure that comes from leadership. It comes from the top. So as competitive and driven as you are to make sure you hit all your goals, you know what? You still are able to live a real sensitive and emotional life. And that is so cool in my eyes anyway. You, Tom, you are a dear friend. You are a superhuman being. I know you don't like to hear that all the time, but you are so thoughtful. I talk about that all the time. The best gift in the world is to be thought of. And like I said before, I get text messages from you about something here or there, and it just means the world to me. So I hope you never change, lose that part of you, no matter how many more kids or businesses you come up with. But it has been just a sure honor to have you with. And we say this a lot every time we do a podcast, but this time it's true, just like all the rest of them, in case they're listening.
This time it's true.
The other time it's a lie.
This time I really, really mean it. There's going to be someone down the road that hears this, Tom, and it will change their life. They will look at their own life. They'll hear your story. They'll see a lot of similarities in their life, and they're going to say, if he did it, I can do it too. And they're going to reach out for help. And that's because you decided to take a chance and come on today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
One last thing, huh, Wick?
Can
Go
I
ahead.
say something
Please.
on that too?
Oh, I think you should.
And I agree 100% that this podcast is going to change somebody's lives. And as I was thinking, and you were bringing that up around being around the shop and stuff like that, you are going to, and I believe you already have. I believe that you going to BIR, like you were now, and coming home early, that had an impact on people that you probably don't realize. The impact that you have on your employees at work, you probably don't realize. And I got to be honest, I give him a lot of shit, mostly behind your back to these guys. But anyways, I'll do it to your face sometimes.
You do, and I appreciate that.
But I will tell you what, there's no place I will ever take my vehicles besides
That's
Boulevard
so true.
because of the fact that, to me, mechanics are like dentists. I don't like any of them because I don't trust them. But if you find one you trust, if I find one I trust, it's always there. And I will always bring my stuff there because I trust all of your employees, the way I'm treated there, all of that type of stuff. And like Bill said, now I have a much, much better understanding on where that comes from.
And that is so true, that trust piece, and your trustworthiness will continue to grow. You alluded to earlier, sometimes you're having conversations with your wife and she's a little skittish because of how you used to be. But you get to build that up. And yeah, this isn't a Boulevard Auto commercial.
Yeah, it feels really weird here, by the way.
Don't worry, buddy. This is all part of a bigger picture. You are so trustworthy, and those guys that work there, this is a bigger picture than just a place that fixes your cars. And I think you work in an industry where you have a platform, whether you want it or not, now that you've put yourself out on this podcast, there's a lot of men who work in your industry who need a lot of help, and you have an opportunity to do something with that, and I think that's freaking cool.
Yep.
I have a quick observation before the show ends, too. We make a lot of jokes about ages on this show.
Yeah.
But we've never actually said what our ages are.
I'll start. 29. Wick?
36.
Well, then math-wise, that makes me -10, I think.
Perfect.
You know what? I'm not vain. I don't have a problem. I have no hair. I have gray hair. I am 62 years standing proud.
I'm 38, and I also don't have hair.
So. I am 58, and yeah, I'm 58. What are you, Wick?
Oh man, I'm 62 also, and I love it. I love it because of the fact that, hey, once you hit a certain point, the expectations go way down.
Yeah, exactly. I play pickleball now with a lot of guys in their 30s, and I just get on the court, and they're like, "Oh, we'll cover for you." I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. I can still run.
Yeah. See, people don't expect me to do that. If I can, great. It's like, the bar's low now. So
I feel like once I turn 50, I'm just going to start walking with a cane just because.
Well, fuck you too.
Or just don't walk, man. One of those little cart things that you see.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Get one of those Walmart scooter things.
Don't be vain. If you're thin in hair, just take it off. Just be who you are. That's the message for today.
Hence the beard.
Yeah, hence the beard, yeah. Well, it's time for us to leave. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to get into my colonoscopy stories.
No, we didn't.
Shoot. Next time.
Shut her down, Andy.
But thank you so much, Mark and Andy and Tom, of course. Thank you guys so much for your time. And we can't wait to see everybody again on our next podcast of What's the Point podcast.
Drive safe, Bill.
You've been listening to What's the Point podcast, where you are the point. It's real men telling real stories, from depression to anxiety, No doctors or professionals, just real men talking about real issues. For more, visit the Face It Foundation's website at www.faceitfoundation.org. To ask questions for future episodes, send us an email at wtpointpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at What's the Point Podcast, and find us on Twitter at WTPointPodcast. Till next time, this is What's the Point Podcast. And remember, you are the point.